We've all set goals and haven't achieved them, but does that mean you're a failure? The answer is no. Not achieving a goal does not mean that you're a failure. Not achieving a goal does not mean that there's something inherently wrong with your character. It can be really easy to feel when we don't achieve a goal, when we don't get the result that we were expecting or that we were striving towards, to feel like a failure, to feel like we are bad, to feel like inherently something is wrong with us. But truth is, it's not the case. The truth is that our brains are actually wired this way. And that is where it gets annoying. But with awareness, we can actually start reversing this thought work essentially in our head that when we fail, it does not mean we're a failure. When we fail, it's actually us practicing. And this is something that's a really awesome paradigm shift for our brains to realize and for us to feel such a sense of relief and just stress off of our shoulders. Because at the end of the day, it's what you make not achieving a goal mean that is making you have negative emotions or negative feelings. And what I mean by that is generally when someone says I'm a failure, okay, I mean, technically to some degree that can't be proven in a court of law. So like that's technically just a thought. But let's say for whatever situation, just to make this go, is let's say that was true. I'm a failure. Okay. Here's the thing. It's what you make it mean that is causing you suffering, that is making you have this like emotional anguish inside, that's making you mentally feel like there's nothing that can be right in the world. When you think I'm a failure and you have this negative side to it, generally it's you actually thinking I'm a failure, meaning something's wrong with me. I will never achieve this result that I'm looking for. No one will love me. I am not enough. I'm unworthy. Those are actually the thoughts that you're thinking, because someone else could hear I'm a failure or say I'm a failure, right? But they could say I'm a failure at this one particular thing at this one particular point in time. It doesn't mean that I won't be awesome at it later. It doesn't mean that I can't try again. It doesn't mean that I didn't learn something from that experience. Right? So you have two different people getting the same exact feedback, but internalizing it and processing it in two very different ways. And generally, the way when we start feeling negative from a thought, it's because we're making it mean something about us. Failure is simply just a learning process. And here's the thing I want to say too is failure has such a negative connotation to it, but what I want to offer you is failure could be a really cool thing. Failure could be something that benefits you. Failure is how you get to that next step in the process or to that next version of yourself. With failure, we're just learning. We're practicing, right? And we can always use this example when we see a toddler, right, learning to walk and it falls. We're not going to look at the toddler and be like, oh my God, you're such a failure. You tried once and you failed, so you should just not try and you're just going to have to crawl for the rest of your life, right? We wouldn't say that, but yet we say that to ourselves, right? We try to do a new business thing, or we try to market a different way. We try to communicate to our prospects a different way. We invest in a course or in a new technology or software or platform, and it doesn't go right the first time, and we look at ourselves and say, that's it. One time, didn't work, we're done. We failed. And this is something that I see often in entrepreneurs. And this is where I just simply remind them, everyone fails. We've done it so many times when we were kids, when we were toddlers, because we had to learn everything, right? But there's this weird thing in society in our brain that says as we get older, as we become adults, we're supposed to know everything. Nothing's supposed to be hard. There isn't supposed to be any challenges. We should just be able to know how to do something the first time. We should be able just to be like, do the thing and just be automatically an expert at it. That's not how life works. And the moment you get that thought out of your mind is the same exact moment that you stop your own suffering. It's the same exact moment when you release yourself from your own mental chains, your own mental binds, saying that everything has to look perfect in order to push it out into the world, in order to be good enough, in order to provide value to others. It has to be perfect. And the truth is that's not true. That's not the case. There's going to be external factors and circumstances that come up in your life, and it can be easy just to push that into, that's why I didn't achieve. That's why I failed. That's why it didn't work out in the way that I wanted to. But what about it just being a need to recalibrate? What if that what if it was just that certain circumstance? What if it's just that certain circumstance was really just a catalyst to realize your values, what you actually prioritize? Or on the flip side, something happens in your world that is unexpected and you are forced to change. You're forced to recalibrate, right? These are moments of simple recalibration. The whole world's not coming up and up leveling, right? I think so often people feel that when their life has been going a certain way and things adjust, that their whole rest of their life is ruined. What if that is just a catalyst, or rather a direction turner or an adjuster to the rest of your life? You can learn from every experience that you have. Period. Remember, guys, goals are benchmarks. They are not identities. You achieving that revenue goal, you losing that amount of weight, you being able to do this particular lift in the gym, like that is not who you are. Your goals are simply benchmarks. They are not identifiers. And this is something that I think is so unique, is so often when someone says, "Who are you?" You say, "Oh, well, I've done this and I have this business and this is the activities that I do and this is who I am." But that's just what you do. That's not who you are. There's a difference. Your mindset matters. And ideally, it's a growth mindset. Generally speaking, when we don't achieve a goal and we feel like a failure, a lot of it comes to this thought, to our mindset not being a growth mindset. Because here's the thing, at the end of the day, when you let me pose this to you. If you knew you were going to get that result that you're striving for, if you knew it was 100% achievable and you were going to obtain it, you were going to achieve it, if you knew that was certain, would you let this obstacle right here hold you back? Would you allow this inconvenience, this challenge, this pushing situation to make you say, "No, I do not want that goal or that result"? If you knew that result and that goal was achievable, that you could obtain it, what would you start doing and what would you stop doing? And this is a huge reminder, guys. Remember to focus on your process. Focus on the effort that you have provided to the world, to yourself, that you've shown to yourself in the moment of you just trying to obtain that goal, trying to reach that goal, right? You had to change who you were in order to get to who you are wanting to be. So even if you're over here, you're on the right-hand side of, this is my goal, this is what I want to achieve, but you're all the way on this left-hand side of, which probably is opposite in the video. But if you're on the opposite side, but let's say you got like halfway, right? And then you identified as a failure and you said, I failed. I didn't get to my goal. Let's just pause right there and remind ourselves, no, you didn't get here, but you came from here, right? You had to go and change and adjust and evolve in order to get to where you are now. That in itself alone deserves to be celebrated. You deserve to be celebrated. That process, that effort deserves to be celebrated. How do you define success? And this is important, especially when those who don't achieve goals and identify as a failure, generally it's because they define success as achieving goals. As I did this and this and this, and if I have those 5 things, whatever, achieved, then I'm successful. Or maybe it's I have X amount of dollars in the bank account, or I have to have X amount of cars and X amount of properties around the world, right? But what if you redefine success? What if success looked like your well-being, striving for that next version of yourself? What if it was saying yes to 3 uncomfortable situations every single day? What if success was having no regrets? What if you define success as just living that best, kindest, like most authentic version of yourself? At the end of the day, ask yourself, was I authentic today? Did I do the best that I could today? The answer is yes. You're pretty dang successful. With the assumption that you identify success, or you define success as such. But I see so often people defining success as this accumulation of achieved goals. And so when they no longer achieve their goal, they're no longer successful. But here's the thing. Your success can be redefined at any moment. Overall, your relationship with yourself is solely the accumulation of thoughts about yourself. What does that mean? When you have this thought of, I'm a failure, I don't achieve goals that I set out for myself, I don't deserve the success that I have, I am unworthy of being loved. When those are your thoughts about yourself, your self-esteem drops, your confidence drops, right? Your relationship with yourself is one that's relatively negative. But what if you got kinder to yourself? What would that relationship with yourself look like? I would assume you wouldn't say, wow, you're such a failure to a friend, right? But why are you saying that to yourself? In those lower moments in life, and we all have them, we're human, you need to have your back. And how are you to have your back when you're berating yourself by saying how much you're a failure, how unworthy you are, how unlovable you are? Your relationship with yourself can change. It simply just starts off with going from negative to neutral. It goes off to I'm a failure to I failed. Not identifying with that word, but saying it, you had done that thing, right? And then from neutral to positive, from I failed to look what I tried, look what I learned. Here is how I evolved, right? We can shift our mindset at any point in time. We simply just have to stop our thoughts and say, okay, what am I allowing into my brain right now? What is true to me? And this is an example that I always love to use with my clients is imagine you have a bodyguard in your brain, okay? And so as humans, we have 60,000 thoughts that go through our brain every single day, an obscene amount of thoughts, right? So we have, let's say 60,000 thoughts that go through our brain. Let's pretend we put a bodyguard in our brain, okay? Name it however you want. And let's say Hugo. Let's say Hugo's my bodyguard. And his job is to let only awesomeness in, only the truth in, only the authentic in to this grandioso party, which is your life, we'll say. Okay. So we have this thought of, I'm a failure. Come to the door and says, I'm ready to party. Hugo's like, you're not on the list. Hugo can bounce him away, right? You don't have to let that thought in. Now, let's say, hey, I learned, I evolved, I grew. That thought comes in. Hugo's like, for sure you're on the list. Like, let's go. Let's party. Let's jive, right? Now, sometimes we have some thoughts that come through the back door. They come into the party and they just become assholes to everybody, and everyone just starts having a horrible time, right? Here's the thing. Hugo can go in, pick them, and toss them out. And then the party livens up again. Same exact thought, same exact analogy, but with your actual brain, right? You're going to have thoughts that come in, and sometimes they slip in. You're like, I'm a failure. And you take that in as your own thought of like, I'm a failure, right? But we can then at any point in time and stop and say, you know what? Actually, that's actually not true for me. That's actually not in alignment with me. Actually, doesn't really feel authentic to me. I'm not a failure. Easy peasy, snap of the fingers, you can change that. It's possible. So I say all of this as just a reminder to remember who the fuck you are. As we are setting goals in the new year, as we start pushing ourselves and trying new things and challenging ourselves in ways we didn't anticipate on doing or ways we've never done before, this is a reminder that it's okay to have negative thoughts. It's how our brain works. We're kind of programmed to have them. But it's your responsibility and your ability to change those thoughts, to have the mindset that you want to have. It's 100% possible, and it's 100% for you. When a thought comes in that doesn't feel in alignment, ask yourself what is true about it. In a court of law, is I'm a failure true? Guarantee the answer is going to be no. So what is the truth out of that? How can you rephrase that into something that's more authentic, more true? Start with that. All right, my friends, thank you so much for tuning in to another video here. I hope you like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what resonated with you, and I hope to see you guys next week. See ya.